Hey, Vinyl community, I wanted to do a quick little video on 5 albums that I would recommend to anybody. I don't care what your musical style is, classic rock, modern rock, R&B, whatever it is that you listen to. I would feel very safe recommending the following 5 albums to you. So it's going to be a quick little video, hopefully. First album that I would recommend, and these are all going to be on CD. I don't own any of these on vinyl. I haven't been able to track any of them down, so that's why they're on CD. But first one that I'm going to show, this is the Hanky Panky. Even though it's a band name, it's technically just Matt Johnson, pictured here on the cover. He started out as a synth pop band. Johnny Marr, actually, from the Smiths, was in the for about half a second. But this is an album full of Hank Williams covers, and it's done in a very modern rock kind of way. This came out in the mid-1990s, kind of right in the middle of the whole grunge scene, but it's not real heavy, but it's not real light either. He does very interesting modern takes on some old Hank Williams songs. He does Your Cheating Heart, My Heart Would Know, If You'll Be a Baby to Me, Worry Blues from Waiting, Honky Tonkin'. But it's just gritty. It's hard rocking in spots, but then it's also very tender and acoustic and pretty faithful to the original Hank Williams version. But there's such an affection here. Matt Johnson is from the UK, but I believe Hank Williams is one of, if not his favorite artist. And so he really does these in a very respectful, and yet they sound like original the songs. They sound like modern rock songs. It's very interesting the way that he arranges these songs. But even if you're not a country fan, you don't need to be, because these don't sound very much like country tracks, but they're just enjoyable to listen to. Next one that I'm going to show is a band that I've talked a little bit about on this channel, but it is Cab For Cutie, and this is my favorite album title of all of theirs. We have the facts and we're voting yes. Don't know what they're voting yes on, don't know what facts they recently came into possession of, but this is an album that came out in the early 2000s, and Cab For Cutie are, I wouldn't go so far as to call them a power pop band because they're the farthest thing from pop, but they're just very melodic, Americana, modern kind of rock, and I wouldn't even necessarily classify them Americana the way I would say the Jayhawks or Wilco. They've just got a very unique sound, but it's very melodic and it's heavy in spots, but there's also a lot that reminds me of some of my favorite 80s rock like the Smiths and the Cure, but it's done in just a very unique way. The lead singer is also the chief song. I think he might be the only songwriter in the band, but they're just well-crafted rock tunes on here. Cab For Cutie has sort of snuck into the mainstream in the, I would say, last 5 or 6 years maybe, but this was kind of before anybody knew who they were, and that's one of the reasons I like it. I think this is maybe like their third album. They've got a lot more than people would realize, but this one definitely, you can't go wrong. Not many people have heard of it, but there are definitely a lot of great tunes on here, and songs that will just stick in your head. After you've heard them, you won't be able to get them out of your head. And I would say the same thing about this one, which I think I've talked about before, Belle and Sebastian, The Life Pursuit. UK band, got a ton of albums out there, but this one, for my money, is the most accessible out of all of their works. And it's in part ways like 60s pop, There's some 70s glam rock that sneaks its way into here. Some piano-based power pop, but definitely poppy, very melodic tunes that you won't have to listen to repeatedly before they take hold in your psyche. But just a really, really enjoyable album to listen to. The first track, Act of the Apostle, is actually reprised later on, which I love when a band or an artist does two different versions of a track on here. Sounds like David Bowie on certain tracks, sounds like T-Rex, but very much UK, very British, and the spin that they put on their homage, as it were, to certain bands and artists, I think is very interesting. But don't hear any other artist sound like this, and I love listening to this, and it's ear candy. That's maybe the best way to categorize it. Next artist I want to show is, again, it's like got a band name, but really it is just one artist, and I'm talking about Bright Eyes, and this is their album, or his album, I'm Wide Awake, It's Morning. This is essentially the pet project of Conor Oberst, who is a great singer-songwriter. People might be a little put off by his voice. It's sort of very unique in the way Morrissey's voice is unique, and the way that the lead singer of the Violent Femmes' voice is very unique. But I could picture Neil Young actually performing any of these tracks, and I think he would do it brilliantly. But it's kind of got a country rock spin to it, but there's also some alternative, 90s alternative elements to this. But the tracks on here that I love are just so great. And again, this reminds me a lot of Neil Young, like his Harvest album, After the Gold Rush a little bit. Got some modern country, and I don't even want to say country because it's more closer to Americana, because even if you don't like country, you will like this. But it's country in the way that Neil Young made country, or Mike Nesmith made country very accessible to the masses. But this is a great place to start with Bright Eyes. I like Conor Oberst a lot, and this is favorite thing of his that he's ever done. Great artwork too, by the way. And then very lastly, I want to show some Sam Cooke. Don't hear a lot of people talking about Sam Cooke, but Sam Cooke has one of the most beautiful, gorgeous voices in all of R&B, pop, rock, whatever you want to call this. A lot of these tracks are from the early 60s, but what an angelic, what a pure voice. There's never been anybody who has sounded like Sam Cooke since his passing. And I'm talking about Otis Redding, I'm talking about Marvin Gaye. I still think Sam Cooke has a better voice than any of those. Died very tragically, but this is the one to get. The remastering on this is fantastic. It is one of the cleanest, most vibrant sounding of any of the Sam Cooke releases that I've ever heard. So if you're not all that familiar with Sam Cooke, I don't care. Check it out anyway. He has an amazing voice, and he was a songwriter too. People forget that he wrote such a lot of great songs. You got Cupid, Another Saturday Night on here, Having a Party. A Change Is Gonna Come, For My Money. Buy It For a Change Is Gonna Come. It's a civil rights anthem, but it is rendered so gorgeously. It's so moving, his voice and the arrangement that it's wedded to, but can't say enough great things about Sam Cooke. So run out and grab those albums. I don't know if they're all available on Amazon. If you see them in your record store, pick them up. Can't say enough about it. Can't recommend them enough. Take care.